Europe, Asia, South America, and Africa are miles and miles away from Crawford County, Pennsylvania. However, those miles do not keep a man from communicating with people all over the world. And he's been doing it for years from a desk inside his house. John Last traveled to Hartstown for this edition of The Last Word.
I was amazed when social media became a big thing. If I wanted to, I could communicate with people from around the world. However, social media was not a big deal for ham radio operators. They had been communicating with people from across the globe long before Twitter and Facebook.
Here's a guy in Trinidad, one in Dominica.
This is Jim Scott sitting in front of his ham radio equipment at his home in Hartstown. Call sign WK3N. Of the millions of ham radio operators in the world, Jim is one of only about 2,000 alive today that have made contact with fellow operators in every country on the planet. That includes North Korea, a country that doesn't encourage ham radio transmissions.
I was fortunate enough to be able to make that contact. The holy grail of amateur radio contacts.
Jim became a ham radio operator 48 years ago. Back then, there were no cell phones or satellite phones. Jim would help servicemen and women stationed overseas to talk with their loved ones in northwestern Pennsylvania. All it took was a phone patch from his ham radio.
So they would contact me, and then I'd flip a switch and they could directly talk to their relatives. I thought that was great.
Helping homesick soldiers and sailors wasn't the only thrill for Jim in his early days of ham radio. He once received a call from a fellow operator in Alaska.
And he says, "Hey, would you take the time to talk to these Eskimo children I am teaching?" I was elated.
Jim has countless stories about his 48 years of ham radio contacts.
Yes, I've talked with a number of the astronauts on the space station.
Jim may have been the first civilian in the United States to learn that Baghdad was under attack in 2003. He was communicating with an Iraqi when the first missiles fell.
When all of a sudden, he says to me, "I must go."
Jim has entered contests to determine who can communicate with the most countries during a one-year period. He's won the competition 5 times and set world records twice. It earned him this nickname:
The man who never sleeps.
With The Last Word in Hartstown, John Last, Erie News Now.